So that I don't need to show you that. It's an Astrobiscuit cookout. So let's. Hi everyone. I'm afraid I'm drinking a little bit of vodka this evening with juice, so it's very healthy as well. And I've only just pressed record on the stream, so you're only just joining us. But I haven't really said anything anyway. So the first thing that I wanted to say was that I'm hoping to do some filming for an Astrobiscuit video, and I'm hoping a few folks might be able to join me. And the places where I'm going to be located are either in Devon, the middle of Dartmoor. Can you see? This is Dartmoor. My folks live a bit to the south of that. And right in the middle of the Dartmoor is a place called Cumston Tor, which is a nice tour, right? But it's a really nice dark bit of Dartmoor, and visually it'll be awesome for the Astrobiscuit video. So I might go there, or I might go to Bignor Hill Car Park, which again is a long way south. It's in Hants, and here it is. It's a car park, a National Trust car park at the end of a road. It's pretty dark there as well. Like you can see down to magnitude 21 stars, I believe. This is what it looks like essentially. If anyone is around either of those two places and thinks that if we have a clear night, and it's sod's law, it's going to be on a school night, isn't it? But if they think they might be able to join me, please let me know, and we'll try and coordinate in either of one of those two spots. I'm sorry there's not anywhere further north. It's just that's a bit darker, those two spots. There are places to the east as well, but anyway, so that's where I'm hoping to be. And as I say, there's a high pressure coming to the UK possibly next week, and possibly the sky will be calm, and possibly we'll be able to get some amazing shots of NGC 891. And anyway, if you're anywhere around the world, please also film yourself. If there's a bunch of you in the same area, or you're able to go on a star party or something like that, a little bit of filming with your mobile phone, send it to me. I'll pop it in the video. And you can say something like, "Hey, Biscuit Man, we're filming NGC 891," or something like that. I don't know, whatever. That would be awesome. And the video will be going out at Christmas, and I'm sure it'll go down very well. All right, what's next? Article about shooting in infrared. Oh yeah. So I mean, I'm sure we're gonna chat about stuff like this, but I saw this interesting article. I think I mentioned it last week. So a lot of us live in the city, and we can't do lucky imaging because the light pollution bleaches out all the it bleaches out the sky so much that it ends up meaning we can't do long exposures very easily. Well, this chap from Japan used the Astronomique ProPlanet 642 nanometer something. Basically, it's a long pass filter. It lets all the light through from red and longer wavelengths. So it cuts out the blue and the green and some of the red, and it lets all the other light through. And the great thing about that wavelength, the sort of infrared and just a bit of the red, is A, it catches the hydrogen alpha just, but B is that the light gets distorted much less by the atmosphere, so you can get a sharper image, right? So it might be that it might be that shooting a longer wavelength for a bit longer, like rather than shooting 500 milliseconds in a luminance channel, might be that shooting like 2 seconds in the IR channel, this kind of wavelength, might yield sharper results. And there's like you can go everywhere in between as well, because it's that I noticed when I was shooting with this SD80. I was trying to use the SD80 and shooting red, green, and blue to as a cheap way of making getting a good shot from an acro like this. I noticed that with this, the green and the red channels were actually pretty sharp, but the blue channel was terrible. So, you know, I one of the things that I want to think about, I know a lot of guys, and I'm sure Nick Elusin is going to talk about it, but one of the things I want to think about is maybe there's room for, like, this is a yellow filter here, right? The yellow filter is going to cut out the blue. This is an old Russian, I don't know, I got it secondhand. It's a Russian filter set, right? It's a weird size, 36 millimeters, and it just happens to fit in my 36 millimeter filter wheel. Awesome. So anyway, this yellow filter will cut out the blue, which is, I noticed with this SD80 Acro, the blue is the stuff that really gets, well, it doesn't do very well in this achromatic scope. But also it gets bent much more by the atmospheric distortion. I don't know what it's called, distortion. But also the seeing affects the blue much, much more. So maybe just cutting out the blue is a really good way of actually sharpening what we're doing. Or you take it a bit further and use an orange filter. And I wonder now why this is in my Russian filter set. I wonder if the Russian guys were thinking, you know what? It's a good idea to cut out the high frequency. This cuts out a bit of high frequency, the blue. This cuts out a bit more. It cuts out quite a lot of the green as well. I wonder if they were thinking that when they designed these filters. I have no idea. They're Russian, as I say. I just got them secondhand. But it's something to think about. You know, maybe we can cut out some of the higher frequency wavelengths and get sharper images. And if that does work, it could be that people who aren't lucky imaging could use that technique to get sharper images too. Just a thought. All right, what's next?
Are you thinking of using that as like the loom data, even though it would be shot at a different wavelength?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll think on it.
Yeah. So it's there's going to be, we're learning that shooting with shorter images, right, and then throwing away like 90% of them gets us sharper, yeah? But also cutting out the high frequency wavelengths gets us sharper too. And presumably shooting shorter images with the high frequency, cutting out the high frequency wavelengths gets us that bit sharper. But there's you know, it's all you rob Peter to pay Paul, yeah? The more light you filter away, the less light you have hitting your sensor, the longer your exposure is going to have to be. But at some point, there's got to be a place where you're getting the best value for money. And it might be that, you know, it's like using an orange filter like this, where you're cutting out. I suspect the blue wavelengths just distort a lot more. I suspect it's not linear. I don't think it goes, you know, red distorts this much and green this much and blue this much. I think the curve goes woo as the frequency gets higher as to how much the light gets distorted by atmospheric wobble. So I think there might be some happy place where we lose a bit of the blue and maybe shoot slightly longer exposures and end up getting sharper results. I have no idea, but that's just what I'm thinking right now, or something to test anyway. Anyway, so this is the chap. He lives in a city in Japan, and I mean, that, you know, it's also a great, you know, if you're using that filter that he's using, which cuts out green and blue and actually most of the red spectrum. It's supposed to be for shooting planets. It's actually quite a good one to use in the city, because the longer wavelengths also don't get because they don't get dispersed by the atmosphere so much. If you're cutting out if you're only collecting the longer wavelengths, then all the light pollution from the city is going up through the atmosphere, right? And is bouncing off the atmosphere and coming back into our scope. Well, the red and the infrared light doesn't get dispersed by the atmosphere so much, so there's less light pollution coming back at you as well. So it's, you know, it's kind of interesting, I think. So there's a number of bonus pluses for cutting out the higher frequency wavelengths, especially if you live in the city. Okay. And So last week I suggested and asked Maria if she could change the resolution of our reference images. So we have these reference images that people who upload data to the BAT essentially star align. They register to them. And I think, although we're still not 100% sure, we think the 0.5 arc second resolution is working okay. But watch this space. And that is everything that I've got to say, actually. So, has anyone got any questions on what I've been yabbering on about before we open the floor up to the mods? Alrighty. Do we have any mods in the house? Nick, you're here. Anyone else?
Yeah, I could say a little blip that's always interesting.
Alrighty.
Here's a picture. Been working on some lucky imaging a little bit. The picture on the left is long exposure for 2400 seconds integrated. The image on the right is lucky imaging. The top 67% in this case, the same integration time. The only difference is the one on the right was done during a full moon, so it's not an apples to apples comparison, but at least it shows. Look, what the point I wanted to point out is the star, the full width half max, how big the stars are. So you can see on the left the stars are kind of big, bloated, whereas the stars on the right are nearly half the diameter essentially. And so, yeah, lucky imaging does sharpen your images, and I think it was 3.4-ish full width half max on the left, and then sub 2 full width half max 2 arc second on the right. So there's a lot of other problems with that I have to work through for my lucky imaging, but it's just an interesting data point that there is something to it.
Absolutely. And of course, it's, as we all know, it's more noisy, which is why we're all here gathering together. Alex says his mic isn't working. That's unfortunate. Okay. Thank you, Nick. Is there anyone else who's... Oh, I should just point out that I've put the Bat Chat text channel. I've just hidden it somewhere. You might be able to see it. It's in another section. We were all, me included, we're chatting away in it during the week, and then it dawned on me people didn't know whether they should be talking in the Bat meeting room or the Bat Chat text channel, and they're both the same thing really. So tonight, as I'm sure you gathered, our text channel is the Bat meeting room. Anyone else? So Alex's mic isn't working. SpaceKadet, is there anything you want to say? Or are you, anything that you want to say? Are you able to talk? Oh, you have to turn yourself up, mate. You're very, very low. He's gone. We've lost him. All right. Well, I'm sure he can join in if he gets a moment. I know it's like, those who don't know, it's like 5 a.m. or something, and he's getting ready for work in Australia at the moment. So yeah, let's just open it up if anyone has any. Oh, I'll try and do that. He had something to say about. Oh, he's going to get the mic working better. Right, we'll come back to you, SpaceKadet. Any more? So yeah, just anyone really. Has anyone got any comments or anything they want to say? Schoenmaker. It was your shot that I used, wasn't it? At the beginning. And do you want to talk? Schoenmaker, do you want to tell us what you're talking?
I can talk, but
yeah, go for it.
I just shot that image, and I was just playing around with the telescope. Actually, it was my first try doing some lucky imaging. Although people in the chat indeed pointed out that I wasn't actually Lucky Imaging. I included all the subs. So
Yeah. And you've got some nice and that graph on the right is showing us
the full width, half maximum.
okay, and in the shot on the and that bar across is where you set it to, the cutoff point, is it?
Well, I'm not sure actually. I'm not that used to serial in Lucky Imaging yet, so I will
Cool.
have to find out what that graph is actually meaning. But you can see that the moon came to play along. So on the right side, the graph is going up. I guess at least that is due to the moon.
We've found actually that when things go past the meridian, the sharpness goes down quite dramatically actually.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know. It might not be that dramatic, but I noticed it when I was doing some tests. It was really only 1 hour either side of the meridian for M27 that really it was sharper just because I was looking through less atmosphere, or it could be that the atmosphere changed. I don't know, but it's very good. What kit are you using?
This was an Edge HD 8-inch.
Oh, brilliant!
And I'm using the 0.7 reducer on it.
Yeah, excellent.
And I just recently installed an EAF, so I'm now finally able to get the sharpest possible images by having autofocus do the temperature corrections and stuff.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I live in London, right, and the temperature thing doesn't make any difference to me. It doesn't. I don't think I have enough change in temperature, on the rooftops, for me to even worry about that with most of my scopes. But maybe for this critical Lucky Imaging, I might need to look into it more. It's very good. Well done, mate. And one last thing, what camera are you using?
This was the ASI 294 MC Pro, and I'm cooling it to minus 10 degrees centigrade.
Very good. Very good. Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay. Anyone else want to chip in or have anything to say? I'm going to try and get that screen back. There we go.
I guess I'd just say a reminder in terms of uploading data. I don't think we want data that's uploaded with decon processing or deconvolution. Just a reminder, don't process your data like that before.
Do we have any more feedback on the targets? I mean, I must admit, I've been guilty of not going and processing any of the targets this week, as I'm sure many of us are. We're just, it's quite busy, isn't it? But I am looking forward to doing NGC 7331. Do we have enough data on that yet? I know last week we did a shout out for it. Does anyone know where we're at?
Well, we've got more data rolling in. I think we've had like eight or so folks so far.
I tell you what I really like about that data. I was just looking at some of what the folks had done already. Let me just bring it up. I think this is what Skilled Sparks did, right? And we're beginning to get sharpness in the center. I think with a bit more time, I think Skilled Sparks done a great job, obviously, but I think there's more that can be got out of that. But what I love is the little. There seems to be quite a lot of H alpha data in there. I love the little red spodges there, and is that O3 data as well? I'm not sure, but it looks like we've got those nice little pearls in the spiral arms of the nebulosity in that galaxy. And I'm quite tempted to get started on that because I reckon we can pull out quite a lot more sharpness from that. And I think it's going to be a beautiful image. Yeah. Oh, So Real uploaded another 5 hours.
I just uploaded some more data just prior to this meeting.
Oh, awesome. What kind of data was it? Yeah.
Luminance.
Oh, awesome. Were you
from lab.
And were you doing Lucky? Were you going for the sharp stuff?
Yeah, Lucky Imaging. It was the best 400 or so out of 800 5-second exposures, and everything less than 2.1 full width half max.
Oh yeah. Brilliant.
So on. So
Brilliant. That's really good.
just upload.
Excellent. And I wonder whether about 2 arc seconds on this one is going to be kind of where we go for. If you remember, there's kind of like a place where we need to, with these images, we kind of need to decide how sharp we're going to go. So with NGC 891, I want to go for 1.5 seconds. 1.5 arc seconds. It's a bit higher in the sky. I think more of us will be able to shoot it. And therefore, I think we can bring the resolution even tighter. So Astro Bob, if on the say if you were shooting NGC 891 and your 50, chucking away 50% of the frames got you to like 1.8 arc seconds, maybe you should try chucking away 90% of the frames and just doing the best 10%, because that would then get you closer to the threshold that I'm after for NGC 891, not this one, not NGC 7331. I think NGC 7331, 2 arc seconds is probably a pretty good thing to go for. We're just gonna sort of, as time goes on and we move from one target to the next, we're gonna try and sharpen up. But also I particularly want to sharpen up for NGC 891 because that's the one I really want to do the video on. Okay. Thank you though, Bob. That's brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. All right, so Real's going to do 891 on Saturday. Brilliant. Whereabouts are you, so Real?
Can I speak? Can you hear me?
Ah, yeah. Hey, how you doing?
I'm in the Netherlands, Mortal 4.
Oh, awesome.
Skies are crap.
Yeah.
It's raining. It's raining. It's cloudy. It's horrible. It was all right last night.
Yeah, well, it was okay here. I think so. The weather at the moment is there's crappiness northwest, crappiness northeast, and there's like a high pressure.
Crappiness north.
Crappiness north, and there's it's a well-known meteorological term, Nick. And but
Right.
From the south, there is a high pressure that might just come across the UK next week, late next week, and I'm really hoping I'm going to be able to do something then. It may. I don't know whether it'll get up to the whereabouts are you, so Real? Say Netherlands.
The Netherlands. I'm just over
Yeah.
the water. I'm
Yeah.
right close to the sea, just close to Belgium as well.
Awesome, brilliant. Well, hopefully it will be good for you on Saturday.
But the UK weather is normally similar to mine.
Yeah. The problem that we've got is that for doing the real lucky imaging stuff, you actually need the weather to be, we need everything on our side. So not only do we need a clear sky, not only do we need it to be moonless pretty much, not only do we need to be in a fairly low Bortle area, I think, unless this using infrared wavelengths and stuff works, we also need the atmosphere to be pretty calm. So normally that comes with a high pressure. So we need all of those things. So it's really tough. Yeah.
We'll see. The moon's getting smaller as well.
Moon is getting smaller, yeah, and also infrared or shooting longer wavelengths will help counteract the moon a bit as well, in the same way that it helps counteract light pollution. All right. So,
If I may make a discussion question, kind of a positive hypothesis, maybe we should, for 891, for example, encourage people to shoot faster subs than they typically have done. Even if they're not doing lucky imaging, I think that might tighten up our stars a bit.
Eddie 12, yeah, we're hearing you. It's a shame Ben's Spacey Snaps isn't here. The reason I say that is because above 5 seconds, you might as well do 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, I think. The only advantage I suspect in that kind of range of frame, and I'm talking about I'm not. It might change if you're doing it longer wavelengths. Is that the benefit, I guess, of doing shorter frames is literally throwing away the bad ones allows you to get a sharper shot. So if you've got 400 shots, then throwing away 200 of them will leave you with something a bit sharper. But I'm not sure whether if you got 20 shots with longer exposure time in that bracket, above 5 seconds, I'm not sure, Nick. I'm not sure how much it helps. Basically, the wobble in the atmosphere, by 5 seconds, it's just like every frame is catching as much wobble pretty much as the next frame, because the duration is so long. Whereas when you start to go below that, and certainly when you go below 1 second, then there's more difference between the frames, I think.
Right. I'm thinking of situations like where people are shooting 4-minute subs, 2-minute subs, and then bringing them down to like 30 seconds or something like that. Because I'm not saying to beat the seeing, but rather to reduce the impacts of the mechanics of their system. Their tracking and things like that.
Well, yeah. So that's if you've got a crappy mount, say, then that's a good idea. Yeah. If you've got a good mount, then obviously you do get more benefit from going longer, depending on what kind of camera you've got. So the read noise of the camera, you will get ultimately though better data going longer. Deeper data.
And if they start using rejection, if people start using rejection, in the same way we do Lucky, but just as with longer subs, it'll reject the full width half max data that's not, it's big, and therefore tighten up the stacks.
Yes, but I personally am not. I mean, people can do what they want. I personally, for the thick paintbrush, where we're talking about getting the really faint bits, so maybe there's some crazy tidal in NGC 7331. Maybe I know there isn't in 891, but in some of these galaxies there are some weird offshoots, some super faint, almost like spiral arms, right? And the longer exposures will do better at catching those. So if someone is doing, so I wouldn't want to tell the people who are doing the long exposures to getting the really deep stuff. Well, I wouldn't want to tell them to stop doing that.
I think in the end, though, to see the faint stuff, it's ultimately about integration time, regardless of how you do your subs. As long as you have enough dynamic range to pick it up, it may not be human perceptible, but it should be in the data, and once you stack it, it should reveal itself. I think that's what's been so shocking to me about Lucky.
I don't 100% agree with that. I mean, I don't agree with that, but there's degrees. For instance, the new CMOS cameras with their low read noise, what you say is more true with those low read noise camera. Yeah. So with the CCD cameras, like I haven't got it here, then longer exposures, because they got quite high read noise and quite low dark current, the longer exposures really do kick ass. And also theoretically, longer exposures ultimately get you more signal. The signal to noise ratio is better on a longer exposure, and there's a thing called shot noise, and it's all in the margins, and it's all like the difference between a 30-second shot and a 5-minute shot. In terms of stacking loads of 30-second shots and a few 5-minute shots, the difference is like a really small percent. And that of difference in favour of the longer exposures. And with low read noise CMOS cameras, that difference is even smaller. However, and I know a doctor was talking about this, saying, we really shouldn't be doing more than 30 seconds exposures. But I just don't know that he was an astrophotographer, because when we get our data right, we've got from, 0 to a full... I'll try and get my hands. We've got like our data, our histogram, right? Starts off at 0, almost no photons, and goes to a full well here, right? All of our data is in this first 1%, right? And we spend our whole time processing, stretching out that 1%. So even though the difference is only a fraction of a percent between shooting longer exposures. I'm talking about signal to noise ratio here, and shorter exposures. Even though it's only a fraction of a percent, that fraction of a percent does get stretched out as we stretch our image. So I personally think that longer exposures will ultimately give you a better result, as long as you shoot enough for deepness. Yeah, Dr. Rubber. Okay. So Dr. Rubber Glover there, someone's put it in. He says we shouldn't really be bother shooting anything longer than 30 seconds. Although he does say for narrowband imaging we should shoot. Longer is like 5 minutes is pretty good for narrowband imaging. He basically says that, and I don't disagree with him. Apart from, I think that little percentage makes a difference.
Well, so then that makes a lot of sense, and thanks for explaining it. I think the takeaway then is we're sort of dividing strategically our scopes and our efforts to get both the fat brushes and the narrow ones. And so I guess what we really want is a distribution of long and short exposures accordingly. I see what you're saying now. That makes sense.
Yeah, so we've got our lucky imagers, and I guess us lucky imagers need to try and hit that, whatever it is, 2 arcsecond target, right? If we can. Mm-hmm. And we might only be able to do it for a couple of hours per target, because that's when it's right above us, and we'll find that, and in the rest of the time, maybe we're shooting the red channel or the green channel. Maybe we do longer exposures for those. As the thing's rising, we could shoot longer exposures, the broad brushstroke, along with everyone else. And then just in that window, shoot the lucky imaging stuff. Some of these targets, to really, really make the target stand out, we need people to do super deep. We need as much data to get the deep stuff as we can, as well as much data of the lucky imaging as we can. We just need loads of both. It would be interesting to see if there's any little tidal streams around some of the galaxies we're currently going for. I know there was one that's past us now that had a fantastic kind of ring around it, and hopefully next year we'll be able to get that. But yeah, to kick ass, we need both. We need the lucky and the broad brush, the thick and the thin paintbrush. And to be honest, I've been kind of focusing on the lucky imaging the last couple of weeks. But we do need both, yeah. So, how are we doing, everyone? Are we gonna wrap it up? Maria, thank you so much for doing the 0.5 arcsecond reference frames. I had a quick text chat with Skilled Sparks, who's our mod, who's kind of looking after that as well, although Maria's been making the reference frames, and we think 0.5 arc seconds is good. 0.5 arc seconds per pixel is good, but we'll just, there is 1 or 2 little problems with it still, but we think it's good. What's this? What have we got here? Nick's showing us his Astro Tools. Excellent. Any more for any more, or are we going to wrap it up?
Maybe just one quick point. Is my mic working better now?
So much better, dude.
Beautiful. I just unplugged my headphones. I think the point I was going to make was regarding when we're uploading image stacks to the BAT folder, we just need to make sure that our pixel rejection algorithms for like hot and cold pixels and satellite trails are removing everything from our stacks before we bring them up, just because when we go to combine stacks to do our processing, we don't really, because there's only, there might be only 8 people submitting stacks for a target, we can't quite exactly just stack those stacks and remove, say, hot and cold pixels using that method, just because we're not using enough images to stack to remove them.
Gotcha. Yeah, good point.
Because I was playing around with, I think, some 7331 data, and there was a satellite trail going through one of the images that made it through, and I couldn't quite remove it.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. One day we'll have hundreds of people uploading, and then it won't be so much of a problem. But right now, yes, it's a good idea if people can remove their hot pixels. And what sort of what's that threshold thing? Sigma or Windsor clipping at, what is it, 3 or something like that? What's the right terminology for it? Where do you set it? The
It
rejection.
depends which program you're using, I believe. But there's a couple of different rejection algorithms that PixInsight uses. But I find that usually default settings tend to work quite well. But you can adjust the sigma levels to try and tune them a bit if it's not quite working for you.
Sorry, I'm just messing with my focus. Cool, man. How you doing, by the way? You all right? How's Sydney? Is it Sydney or Melbourne?
I'm in Sydney at the moment. It's weather's been quite nice lately, but I've been quite busy at work, unfortunately.
Are you still in lockdown?
Yes, we are, but it seems to be slowly coming out of it. So
Good to hear. Are more people getting vaccinated now? Is that the reason you're coming out of it? Yeah.
Yeah. Our vaccination rates are going quite well. A lot of people that have been holding out have changed their mind and starting to get them as well, which is nice. And hopefully I can go camping soon. That'd be nice.
Oh yeah, awesome. Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone for coming. And just like, if anyone else wants to say anything, now's your moment. Otherwise,
sorry.
Oh yeah, no, don't be sorry. Yeah, Jim.
All right. Yeah, Jimmy C here. I raised a point in the text chat a little bit earlier. So I've only just arrived, so I don't know if you've talked about it already.
No problem.
But I wondered if there was some mileage in adding some additional wide field targets to the bat.
Oh yeah, I did see that
I
actually.
There's a lot of guys that turn up, they haven't quite got the gear, want to contribute, and they're not really able to.
Yeah.
I know the main focus is lucky imaging and to try and prove that it works.
Yeah.
Are there other concepts that we could use the community model to test?
Yeah.
Huge integration times, community mosaics, something like that, but might be good to engage the people that only have wide field gear or, are just starting out.
Yeah. So, I guess the reason that we haven't done it at the moment is I just wanted to get the main thing up and running really, and the workflow and stuff sorted out, and so I guess it's a question of time. So really, the question is there someone out there who's willing to become a bat mod and take on all the different things that are involved in setting up a target, putting it in the, yada 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 yada, I don't know. It's just, I think it would be a good idea. I think it'd be a good thing to do. It must get a bit boring for people who aren't lucky imaging, hearing us yabber on about lucky imaging all the time. Certainly, we could get some amazing things. It's just a question of organisation. We're all kind of working. Do you know what I mean? And so these things take up time. But maybe if someone wants to message me, or if that they're willing to sort of take on helping organise that, you just have to do some chatting here. Maybe one of the bat mods we've already got has enough time. I don't know. I doubt it, but maybe they do. Then why not? Actually, why not?
Great. It's something I'd like to help with, but unfortunately I really don't have any free time at the moment to kind of do that.
I know.
I have found myself not really finding targets that I could really help with on the few nights that I've got the option to do it. I have to set up every time I image. The last few times everything's been far too low to be even bothering.
I tell you
Are
what.
you northern or southern?
I'm in northern hemisphere. I'm just in Oxfordshire, so I'm not a million miles from where Rory is. It's just been when I've been out and about. It's just not been. There's not been anything really available or suitable for me to shoot.
It would be lovely to shoot non-usual targets, because if we have a lot of data, we can go deep, right? And to the right of the Orion, I'm just going to embarrass myself now. Is it Taurus? What's to the right of Orion? There's a lot of. I think it's in Taurus. I have a horrible feeling I'm embarrassing myself, but there's some amazing dark dust lanes there, kind of unexplored. A nebulosity, quite a lot of it dark, right? A few bits of hydrogen and stuff in there as well. But it would be amazing. That area would be amazing to get us a lot of people pointing in that area to go as deep as they can. Also, there's interesting things to be done with IR as well, actually, because the infrared does tend to be able to see through some of that dust, right, to the stars that are on the other side, which you don't normally get to see. So there might be something interesting we can do by combining IR and normal data. Anyway, yeah. So I think it has a lot of potential. It's just organising it is the thing.
Yeah, it's kind of food for thought. And as Paranoida Ninjas just mentioned, Orion is just coming on the scene at the moment, and there's just so much going on there, but would work well for wide-field images. So
yeah. So I mean, obviously Orion's brilliant. The thing is, every man and his dog has done Orion. That's the only thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of beginners out there, but perhaps haven't. So
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And maybe this year Orion would be the thing to focus on. Actually. Yeah. Actually. Yeah. And then as everyone's sort of level goes up, we can start going for the more difficult things. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I just think it'd be really good to help drive community engagement, really, because there's an awful lot of keen beginners out there who want to kind of get stuck into something. Yeah,
absolutely. And maybe it's something that we could actually open out to the server as a whole, in fact, if we had a community targets or something, shared targets to go for.
Yeah, that'd be good. Cool.
I think definitely a lot of us will think about it. The interesting piece from that is also computing from the BAT register what the average field of view is of most of our users, and see, that might help us pick a target appropriately, because I think having people do mosaics is a bit much, but if we can get something that likely will fit, for most people would be good.
I wonder whether we open it out to the whole server as well. I'll mention it to the mods. I'm hoping to have a chat with them this weekend of the whole server. Cool. Alrighty. Thanks, Jim. Good thoughts.
You're welcome.
Is this what you meant, Astrid? Yes, it is. Schoenmaker, am I going mad? Is it Taurus or something? What's the name of that area of the sky?
Yeah, it's in Taurus indeed. It's close to the Hyades. I think it's pronounced that. It's SH2 239.
Okay, so it's not. So what I mean is, there's that, which is brilliant, but there's a bunch of others. I mean, that whole area of the sky. It's kind of it's like in our galaxy. It's like we're in one cul-de-sac, right? And just down the street is. Well, Orion's at the bottom of the road, and just across the way is Taurus, right, with all this amazing nebulosity. So we're looking, at this time of year, we're beginning to look at the bits of our galaxy that are really in our neighbourhood. And there's amazing things to see, like that image you've just posted. But there's loads more of it all over the shop. Yeah. And it's just not something most people image or recognise, so I find it really interesting.
I don't think I've ever imaged there.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone. Really appreciate you dropping in. I must say it's gone a lot easier having a little nightcap. I will hopefully see you next week. At some point there's going to be not me here. We'll have one of the other Bat mods chairing the meeting, just because I've got a few things coming up. In fact, I wonder, do we need one every week now? It seems like we've kind of settled down there. Also, we don't have a lot more people joining, right now because we haven't put out a video, and the people join when we put out a video on bad weather, I suppose, but also when we produce an image, and we haven't actually put an image out there. I think, okay, for next week, let's try and get a really good image and we'll all share it on social media, and we'll get a bunch more people coming in. Anyway, I think that's it from me, really. So thank you all very much, and I shall say good night and goodbye. So good night and goodbye. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. See you guys. Take care. Have a good week.